We were talking about Copa America and Team America's what's it called? Team America's ascent right now. I mean, I didn't watch the game. Tim Ware had a red card against Panama, and I didn't watch the game because watching the game tells a full story,
For sure.
right? In comparison to what the pundits are telling you and the little clips. Because when you watch a game, you get a full understanding of,
I will say it was a lot more balanced before Panama had 10 men. So you're right.
Before Panama had 11 men and USA had 10 men.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. Before the red card, it was a lot more balanced.
Sure,
That
extra play
they had more space after that.
That extra play on professional soccer goes a long way. You have one more person that isn't covered. As a team, as the defense gonna adjust for that? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But Team USA right now has the players. They just need that coach that can get them over the top.
True.
And Greg Berhalter, he's cool, but I don't know if he's the guy that could get them over that hump because Copa America is very competitive.
Hugely competitive.
Colombia, Brazil.
I mean, even Mexico.
Yeah. Competitive games all around, man. No freaking easy ones, right?
No, and especially Brazil has been playing lights out in this Copa America themselves. So.
Well, Brazil's got the names and the players, and you can't do much about that.
Yeah.
You just gotta,
You do need a lot better coaching, and I do think that their style is a lot more of a passing style, short passes. So with the Brazilian style, that's not going to match up because they play so quick. They like to move the ball. I do think that Brazil is going to win this Copa America. That's just my take on it. I mean, it's going to be between them, Mexico, and Colombia.
I'll disagree with you.
Okay.
Here's why. When you saw Brazil tends to play the style that makes them look so intimidating. Like they come like gangbusters, right?
Yeah.
And you watch them play, like there's no way they're gonna lose until they meet that team. It's like I'd compare them to the Timberwolves this year. Timberwolves looked like gangbusters. Anthony Edwards couldn't be stopped, and then he did get stopped by Luka and Kyrie. It's like.
Until you meet that same match or the matchup.
You meet that matchup because soccer, people don't pay attention to it, but it's a lot more of a matchup sport.
Yeah.
Versus, you can have all the superstars in the world play on your team. But if your superstars don't match up against those guys, the other team's talent, you could look good, but all that other team needs to do is score 1 goal, 2 goals.
All you need is a few chances, man. I mean,
get a few chances and play great defense. The rest of the game, you're good to go.
Yeah. And that's actually what happened to the U.S. That they had a few chances late in the game, and that's how they were able to win it against Panama. And we'll see what happens.
That's how they were able to lose it because Panama played great.
They played great, in the end, yeah.
So
they won a goal, you know what I mean?
But
going into the other side of the world, and let's go to Euro. In Euro League right now, the Euro Cup has been going on, and now they're into the round of 16. They're moving on, and you're seeing some teams actually emerge. What do you think about the Euros?
I try to watch it, but I don't get the good games.
You got like any favorites that you're thinking of this year that you think are really like standing out?
Portugal, Argentina, Germany. Those are the teams that in my eyes, like I'd want to watch them play more. Right. I'd like to see what they can do.
Yeah.
And before I'm like, okay, let me glam onto a team because Argentina has Messi, has what's it called? Angel.
Aguero. Right.
Yeah, they have the players. Yeah, they just came off of winning a World Cup.
Yeah.
So they could automatically be the favorite.
Which I think they are. Them and Germany are together as top favorites in betting odds, and I think you could see that already. They haven't had a goal scored on them yet in the Euros, and it's already been 3 games. So they're playing amazing. They're playing incredible right now. Messi's actually still playing lights out, and I will agree with you with Portugal too. I think Ronaldo himself is like really kind of in his mind to want to win one.
He needs to. He needs to win one and then possibly go compete for the World Cup and try to win one.
That's his dream.
Because it's him and Messi. Messi can have one and I don't have one, and I'm considered one of the greatest talent.
That's going to hurt his legacy just that little slightly. When they look at Messi versus Ronaldo in 20 years, they see, well, Messi's got that World Cup. Ronaldo didn't get to that level. I mean, all the other comparables are similar. You got goals, you got assists, they're very similar. Other accolades that they all have, golden boots and everything. But bringing it back to the Euros, I do think that I do think that the top players in the Euros are gonna be guys like Messi, guys like Mbappe, the stars.
Yep.
But necessarily those teams are not going to be winning the whole thing. I do believe that a team is going to emerge like Germany or actually my favorite, who's England. I think that England could really take it. They got a lot of guys right now that are doing good, and Harry is obviously one of them. I do think that they could actually be a favorite to win it. So,
all right. Stay tuned, folks. We're watching. We're paying attention to bring you titillating, thought-provoking sport commentary on the Euro League, Euro Cup, and Copa America. And so far, the games have been totally awesome. The games have been energetic, high energy, high octane, and let's just keep it going. And let's jump on to
go from one big matchup to another matchup.
Another matchup. It was big because it's politics, but what are we gonna do? So, how much of the presidential debate did you watch?
So I'll be honest, I watched most of it. I did kind of tend to zone off a little bit towards the end of it, but I did watch most of it. It was interesting. I will say I do feel slightly bad for Biden, the way that he came out. He did look a little bit lethargic the first few minutes of it. Obviously, he had a few missteps, and people have talked about that all over on social media. But then again, he did kind of bring it back to in the middle of the debate. His energy kind of got better. He was starting to be more assertive about himself, and actually, he kind of stood up for himself, which is good against a guy like Trump, who's gonna boast about himself, who's gonna boast about his abilities, and that's what he does best, is boast. You want somebody to kind of like come in and actually put his feet down and actually give you the truth.
So for those of you watching out there, I have a small topic to just like embark on. It's kind of a kind of a rant, but not really. It's short. So Donald Trump, throughout the whole debate, you could, for people that have, that know people, you have close friends, you have family members that you know them to be liars. Mm-hmm. A liar never keeps anything specific, never gives you details. When they lie, it's a vague conversation. It's very vague. It's very out there. It's not like So I went to the store. I picked up Wrigley's bubble gum, and it was in a green pack. Then I got back in my car, turned it on. I had on some green shoes or gray shoes, and then I made a left turn, got by the red light, and kept going.
That's true. When you're lying, it's hard to keep those details like steady.
When you're lying, there's no details in there for you. You make it such a general blanket statement that if they have to come back to you in any way, shape, or form, you'd be like, yeah, I kind of said that, or I sort of said that, instead of saying, yep, I said it was a sunny day. Mm-hmm. I said it was a sunny day. I had Wrigley's green bubble gum, and then I had on my red shoes, and I made a left and stopped at the red light. Details. There's no details in his conversations whatsoever. Why is there no details? Because he's lying to you. He's always known to lie to people, but there's some people that believe in him as if he's the Holy Grail. You know what? There's nothing left to be said to you. If you don't choose Joe Biden and you choose Trump, then America is going to turn into a third world country.
The issue is with people is they've lived through the past 4 years, and not giving credit to either one of them, because honestly, they both had bad terms. If you look at it, they both had a lot of issues during their terms, but people in the last 4 years are seeing gas prices go up, the inflation go up. Obviously there's different reasonings for that, like there's wars around the world, there's COVID happened, so people had to stay home as well, and obviously production wasn't going on, and it just kind of been starting up the last 2 years. But people are in a worse place than they were 4 years ago. So I do believe when people have that, they usually get tired of it, and then it's kind of like a rocking chair, moves from side to side, or kind of like a pendulum swing. You go from one side and you go to the other. That's why it usually takes 8 years, to happen. That's why after Obama's term, people kind of got tired of the Democrats and they wanted to move to a Republican. Same with like the George Bush era. It was 8 years to him. People got tired of that. They wanted to move to a totally different change. I didn't think it was going to be that quick with Joe Biden, but it really looks like people are starting to get tired of him. And even the Democrats are saying now, should we have another candidate instead of him in a Democratic National Convention? Should we bring in somebody like Michelle Obama or Kamala Harris? If Democrats are saying this, then you know that something is worrisome.
It is worrisome, but you cannot have Donald Trump in office, because if you do, a lots of mass deregulation, and if you have mass deregulation, who knows what you could have in your drinking water? Who knows what you could have in your house, on in your electronics?
Companies are going to be dumping stuff into rivers, which
companies could do whatever the hell they want, and nobody could do anything to them. You take them to court, they have deeper pockets. The Supreme Court is in these companies' pockets. All they have to do is say, "Hey, what's his name? Alito. Here's some millions. Go our way." Or what's that guy's name?
Don't look this way.
Don't look this way. Yeah. So if you vote for a Republican candidate, deregulation, mass deregulation already started happening with the Chevron Act, right?
Yeah.
Mass deregulation
since the 80s. You're right.
So if we can't regulate the good things that we need to have happen for us, these judges are going to take things into their own hands and totally have a dystopian state in America.
However, I will bring a counterpoint to that, is because yes, they're on the company side, that would happen, deregulation. But then if you look at the Democratic side, their sort of deregulation is kind of social media and kind of putting people in bubbles. And, obviously there's been a lot of talk about it, of free speech being controlled in certain websites, which they are private websites. They're allowed to do what they want. Facebook, Instagram, all these websites, they're allowed to have their own policies on what's allowed in that website. But then again, does the government have a right to go to those companies and tell them this is what you must do? So I do think that on that side, on the Democratic side, they're kind of pushing that towards social issues.
On a simpler note, you have your mother, you respect her. Mm-hmm. So if she tells you something, if she tells you something's bad for you, would you listen to her?
Yeah, I would. Here's the thing.
Okay.
Here's the thing. Growing up, of course, you would want to listen to your parents. But what about once you've lived, once you've made your own mistakes and you've learned?
If you can foreshadow things that are going to happen, would you prevent it from happening?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
If Trump becomes president, I can foreshadow America turning into a developing country.
I mean, you can definitely see that because you've seen it before. You've seen his past 4 years.
Because of deregulation, right? All these companies could do what they please, as they please, with nobody questioning them. We need these companies to be questioned. They cannot just behave on their best interest.
That's true.
Deciding that the CEO gets a $40 billion bonus because we decided, not billion, million, a $40 million bonus, and just increase prices. Imagine the plan for one of Trump's plans, the simplest plan. He's like, I'll take away income tax. Doesn't that make you feel good?
I mean, the way that he says it, sure. But once you listen to the actual details, then it's really not good. I agree with you there.
Take away income tax, I'll increase tariffs. Who's paying for those tariffs?
Obviously, it's going to be the production of goods and services. All the goods are going to go up, and
who's going to pay for them?
It's going to be us. It's going to be the lower classes.
So for people thinking it's bad now for us, if that's to happen and they enact it, don't you think? Yeah, I take home $100,000, but I got to pay for a slice of pizza $20.
But here's the thing, though. In the past 4 years, hasn't that been happening already? Wages certainly have been staying similar, but the inflation has been rising steadily as well. And
inflation's rising. There's certain things people are not taking into account, right? Inflation happened because of COVID. Inflation happened because of the Ukraine-Russian war.
There's multiple reasons, yes.
Okay, so
but I wouldn't say those are the only reasons, because if you look at profits of companies, profits of companies are actually at the highest levels they've ever been.
That happened because there's a Republican in the House deregulating.
No, I'm talking about since 2022 up until 2024, after COVID.
Donald Trump's policies started taking effect because of deregulation.
So you mean the tax cuts that
he enacted into companies, they took effect under Joe Biden's watch. And when they take effect, now these companies can decide, hey, I'm going to get as much money as I possibly can, and gouge everybody. And now it looks like Joe Biden did it. Joe Biden didn't do it. Joe Biden's just trying to enact his own laws, and his own laws will take effect after he gets out of office.
Well, and he can't do it right now because there's Republicans in the House right now as well.
So. But if he stays in office another 4 years, yes, he's old. It shows. He's a little bit slow.
But the presidency is kind of like, I don't want to say this word technically because it's not like a puppetry, but it's kind of like a figurehead position. So you have people that are gonna do work for you. You know, obviously he has a lot of advisors. So even though he's old, that's not the biggest issue to me. My biggest issue is not that he's old. It's not that he had like a bad night at the debate stage, because people have had bad nights before.
Sure.
Many people have had a bad night and then they come out and they become president after that. My issue really is are we going to be seeing the same things? You know, is he going to be bringing in tax cuts to the rich, as he's saying? He's talking about 25% tax cuts, tax increases for billionaires, which would bring in, he said, $400 million a year, which is going to be a great deal. But then again, he's also talking about cutting a lot of different programs, just like Trump was doing. And a lot of these things aren't really matching up with Democratic standards, as Democratic standards were social policies and helping the middle and the lower class. And it's not really showing that way in his favor right now, in the past 4 years at least. Of course, like you said, a lot of those issues are from different things, wars, COVID. But then again, a lot of those issues are also companies just being greedy.
Definitely, absolutely. So the common man, you and I, we can't do much about it. But what we can do is go vote. I can say I don't care who you vote for, but I really do. I don't want Project 25 to take over. I don't want that to take over. I don't want that to be our commonplace. I don't want the world, America, basically, to be not a utopia, but a dystopia. And for everything to go down in chaos. And then Donald Trump could decide, if he gets into the White House, yeah, I'm ruler supreme. I'm not going anywhere. And anybody that goes against me, they could just die. Because Project 25 says, I'll go after my political enemies. I could do whatever it is I want to do, and I can only hire people that follow what I say, nobody else.
I mean, we've seen it happen before in the USSR and with Putin's reign in the last 20 years.
We don't want Putin in here. We don't want Russia in here. We don't want a developing...
Xi Jinping, similar.
Yeah, we don't want a developing world mentality in America. America's supposed to be land of the free. Let's continue to keep it that way.
But speaking of Project 25, do you want to give the people a little bit more info about that, and should we have a conversation about that, because that is a very interesting topic. Project 25 has been in the news lately, and all around social media people have been talking about it. For those of you that don't know, I mean, it's
the basic gist of it is a lot of deregulation and a lot of people that are what's it called, that are sympathetic to the president's whim. Whatever the president says, however he says it has to be done, that's how it will be done. And anybody that's not loyal to the president could lose their job immediately. And it's only sympathizers and loyalists to the president that stay. And those will be people that are loyal to President Donald Trump. That is all. And Donald Trump may speak a lot. He just does. He talks about, when he talks, it's a lot of word salads. It's a lot of whatever may be. No specifics, but the people behind him that want to turn this country really into the communist country that they want it to be will be enacting his rules and legislation and turning this country into a dystopia. And I don't want that.
It's definitely a lot of nationalism in their camp. You're right about that. It's the nationalistic mentality that America first, that's where they came from, is the nationalistic mentality. The Reagans, even the Lyndon B. Johnsons, like that was the whole mentality of that.
What we got to understand, American first, this whole world is connected. If you put America...
It's never been America first.
No, I'm just saying.
All the products are not from America. We don't make anything here. We don't create anything. Like, yeah, okay, we create art. We create movies, the best music, I would say. Obviously sports, but if you think about actual innovations, products, I mean, most of the innovations around the world since 99% of human history has come from Europe, Africa, and Asia.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you think about America's only been around for 250 years. That's not a long time. They don't have a long cultural history.
If we're saying America first, nationalism movement, understand the whole world is interconnected. There's no way for you just to be like America first and have that be a thing. It can't be a thing. We are all interconnected. There's inflation in Africa. There's inflation in Asia. There's inflation in Europe. We're all interconnected. You feel it in the place that you know the most, but there's people in Africa that are like, God damn, the world is hard.
Yeah.
But they feel it over there where they know the most. We feel it over here where we know it the most. But at least in America, you have the opportunity to go work, make some money, and be able to purchase things that you want. Whereas in those countries, they give you a salary that makes no sense. The prices of goods increase and your salary stays the same. You can't do that. You can't live like that. Those people cannot live like that. And we continue to have them live like that. The whole world is interconnected. If America just stays to America and we don't deal with any of those other countries, and if the cost of goods are going to go up, the cost of everything is going to go up, and we're all going to be like, man, I regretted not doing that. Yes.
The good point you bring up, though, because here you do have the opportunity of jobs. Like, okay, maybe you're not going to have the best, you're not going to find the best job right away, but you have the opportunity to find a job, and after that you can find a different job if you don't like it. And in different countries in Europe and Africa and certain countries in Asia as well that are not as that are more third world type countries, second world countries, it's a lot harder to find that dream job that you want, or even something that you went to college for. I mean, I have cousins they're in Bulgaria that they went to college for a certain thing, but they had to move into a totally different direction after college.
Nobody's hiring. We go back to nepotism. It's who you know when you get into those countries.
It's who you know, so you need to know somebody at that point. You need to have a friend that's going to be able to get you in. And once you're in there, you can actually show your skills. And like you said, with that inflation is going on all over the world. And some places are even feeling it way more than America. Yeah. But then again, bringing it to a different direction is globalism really the right way to move about it? Have open borders,
the world's interconnected. If we don't work together, what the hell are we doing?
Has the world ever worked together, though?
But the world needs to work together.
It needs to. In a perfect world, it should, and I agree.
We all depend on each other for certain things. There's stuff that's made in Europe that's not made in America. There's stuff that's made in China that's not made in America. There's stuff that's made that comes from Africa that's definitely can't be found in America.
Right.
If we all work together, it's for the greater good, a global world, a better good. So what are we doing?
I agree with you. I think that it's actually going to help. It's going to help people be more open-minded. Actually, if it's a more open world, there's a stat that it always blows my mind when I hear the stat. Is like only 15 to 20% of Americans have their passports, and around 50% of Americans have only gone 45 miles away from their city, living their whole life. Can you imagine that? Like only going 50 miles away from your own city, your whole life. So they really don't have that open mind of a global world. They see it on a smaller scale, and that's why a lot of the, as we were talking about earlier, is the globalists versus the nationalists. A lot of these localized communities that they haven't been open more or seen different things, they kind of stand more nationalistic. Then you have bigger cities that are full with more immigrants and more open-mindedness, more college kids that they're open to worldly ideas, and you see that's actually part of the globalism ideas that are coming to the table. And honestly, in Agenda 25, with Project 25, along with Agenda 2030, which is another big deal that's being talked about with immigration and 15-minute cities. I don't know if you've heard about this topic. It's a term that's been being used lately. A 15-minute city is basically somewhere where you can live, work, and have entertainment. You don't need to have car.
Don't need to go anywhere.
Yeah, you won't be able to go anywhere. You won't be able to travel. So in a sense, that's kind of bringing that into a more nationalistic sense and not into a global, world. So that's the one thing that kind of worries me is both of these parties, the globalists, the nationalists, they're all kind of going against each other, and they have been for the last, since Vietnam has been really going on, since Kennedy. So it's been weird. It's been a weird time. We'll say that. It's been a weird time.
I mean, we've talked a lot today. We've touched on a whole bunch of topics. We went from sports to politics, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, soccer, basketball. We hit it all, man. And we got this guy here today, brought some energy with it. And today's been a great show. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I know there's been a while that we wanted to do this. I'm so glad
it's been
I finally
a while.
got to do that. For real.
AI, not the kid.
Always
so, You need to tell them where they can find you.
Of course. So if everyone wants to check out my reaction channel, it's Rado Reacts on YouTube.com. You guys could also check me out on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Just type in Rado Reactions. Also, make sure you guys look out for my new show. It's called The Conversation, coming out July 5th, first episode. It's going to be more of a news style show, so definitely check that out, guys.
Spell Rado React for them.
Yeah, RADO REACT. React.
Today's episode is sponsored by Final Cuts Media. Find us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. We're everywhere. Go subscribe. We have music. We have podcasts. We have Kade's Corner. A little bit of a plug there. Kade's Corner talks about history, talks about holidays. You know, it gets into things that we normally wouldn't get into. Fan Faces Plus would normally get into. But for the younger audiences out there, check out Kade's Corner, Fan Faces Plus on YouTube. It's only on video because I know how you Gen Alphas like to see. So we're bringing you things for you to see. So thank you for watching, and shout out to everybody that's been listening, everybody that's been supporting. We appreciate you very much. Till next time, I am Amadou the Great. Peace out.